petition of Graham Axford.
No bills have been introduced, so the House now comes to questions for oral answer. And the first question stands in the name of the Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. Does he stand by his answer on Tuesday regarding jobs? Quotes, "I think that the number of 170,000 may come from the initial budget forecast for 2009, perhaps. I cannot remember the year exactly."
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, yes, I stand by that number of forecast jobs. I can confirm for the member that, in fact, in both budgets 2010 and 2011, the Treasury forecast around 170,000 additional jobs over the respective following 4 years.
The Honourable David Parker.
Does he now remember that National's 2011 election promise to New Zealanders, advertised repeatedly on television, was that under National there would be 170,000 more jobs by 2015?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
On behalf of the Minister of Finance, I thank the member for assisting us with our advertising and recognising it so well. That is indeed correct. And to help the member, well, I'll tell you how it's going, actually. So far, we've gained around 40,000 jobs since that date. The budget predicted 59,000, so we're a bit behind at this point. But of course, there's another 2.5 years to run.
Just before I call the member, I just remind members that visual aids can be used by the member speaking, not by others. The Honourable David Parker, supplementary question.
A supplementary. Given that only 13,000 more people have been employed over the last year, does he understand why so many disappointed New Zealanders say his government's policies are not working?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I'm not sure exactly how Mr. Parker has obtained that number, but I can confirm for him that according to HLFS, there's been a gain of 40,000 jobs between 2010 and June 2012. And 57,000 jobs between June 2010 and June 2012.
The Honourable David Parker.
Why does he pretend to forget his own promise of 170,000 more jobs, then pretend his government is on track, when the majority of New Zealanders in last night's TV3 poll say that his government has failed on jobs?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I think the member will find that's incorrect. The survey question was in regards to full employment, and nobody would predict, I think, or claim that any country in the OECD has full employment post the global financial crisis. But I think the public of New Zealand understand that, because I understand the same poll rated the government, the National Party, at 48.8 or 9%, and the Labour Party at around 33. So I suspect that says the same group of people understand the challenges that the government faces.
The Honourable David Parker.
Who does he think's right on jobs? Him or the majority of New Zealanders who say his government has failed on jobs?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I think that's just simply incorrect, the assertion that the member makes. What I would point out is this. I think every New Zealander knows that we are in very challenging economic times. Every New Zealander knows that New Zealand is actually performing better than most countries in the OECD. Every New Zealander knows that the unemployment benefit uptake has dropped significantly over the last 2 years. And every New Zealander knows that most countries in the OECD have a far worse unemployment rate than New Zealand. We're all working hard to get it better. I can tell the member would be reverting to Fortress New Zealand and printing money flat out.
Darian Flint.
To the Minister, given that he and his government deny any responsibility for the job losses at Spring Creek Mine, will he at least admit that the 220 job losses confirmed today are part of a wider pattern?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, obviously it is a very difficult day for those people who have lost their jobs in Spring Creek, and nobody's pretending that it isn't. But I would say, if the opposition did care about the possibility of jobs for those miners, they would join the government in calling for the objectors to the mine just up the road to drop their objections to the development of the Bathurst line and allow those consented jobs to go. It's very important, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order has been called, Eugenie Sage.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I understood that it was the practice in this House not to refer to judicial proceedings because they are sub judice. There is a proceeding in the High Court on the Bathurst mine. The Minister has previously alluded to that. I did not understand that this was the practice of the House to be able to do that.
Order, I may have to concede to the member's superior knowledge to mine, but I'll take a little advice on that, because obviously such matters are quite important matters. Because I consider this matter to be an important matter, the relationship between this House and courts, I've taken advice on the matter, and the advice is that the Minister was really making a political statement and is not referring in any way in any detail to any matter before the court, and therefore should not be ruled out on that basis. However, I think the Minister, is the member seeking to raise a further point of order? Point of order, Eugenie Sage.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister was going on to say that members of this House should join with the government encouraging objectors to desist. So that is actually giving a strong message to parties to those proceedings.
Well, I think it's simply a political statement and got nothing to do with the detail of any case in front of the court whatsoever. The Minister hasn't argued the merits or otherwise, but he's just arguing politically that he believes, I don't want to repeat what he said, and I don't think I should be ruling that out. That's the end, I think, of question number one. I beg your pardon, question number two, Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Climate Change.